A few years ago, our youngest son, Nick, came home after his 2-hour drive from college, sat down at the kitchen table and began to articulate some frustrations with the spring season. Now, in our house, we always support the coaching staff, and we make sure that our kids knew that, whichever sport they were playing. But in this particular case, what I didn't realize was I may be the one getting the lesson here. As Nick articulated his comments and thoughts that he'd obviously been stewing over for the 2-hour drive, I wanted to make sure he understood a coach's perspective and point of view. As Nick brought up coaching versus criticism, and when you move from one to the other, I would bring up motivation and the different styles and types. When he brought up when do you go public and when do you make certain comments in private, I told him sometimes the stress of a season and vying for a conference championship may get in the way of our better judgment. As this conversation went on for 2 or 3 minutes, the frustration escalated, and my wife, after having enough with it, set aside what she was doing in the kitchen, walked over to the kitchen table, sat down next to Nick, looked him in the eyes and said, "Honey, how'd that make you feel?" Well, Nick turned around, and after about 2 minutes of conversation with her, she completely diffused the situation. He gives her a hug and a kiss and bounds up the stairs. Now, I'm livid, sitting in my chair. She looks at me and said, "Honey, stop. I know what you were doing. I've been married to you long enough. You saw a teaching moment and you wanted him to understand the perspective of the coach. However, sometimes our boys just need a dad." Now, all ended well. As Nick went back, the frustration subsided. The team ended up winning their conference and he made the all-conference team. But the lesson learned was my own. You see, to be supportive to our kids, I don't always have to choose sides. We just need to sometimes choose to listen. You see, I listened with the intent to reply, but my wife was listening with the intent to understand. And by doing so, she completely diffused an otherwise fragile situation. Sometimes listening is the best example to give, because we all know our kids are going to follow our examples far more than they'll follow our advice. We hope this was helpful. Thanks for joining us.